Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very normal episode of Am I the Asshole podcast. I'm Danny Vega, joined by my lovely, lovable, stylish, social media meme queen, Queens resident, Sarah Levine.
What do you mean it's a normal episode?
I don't know.
Sounds abnormal
I
when you say it like that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I guess I just got tired of lying to the listeners and saying it's special, and they're going, well, Danny, you say it's special every time. And,
okay.
And then I was like, am I beating a dead horse? You know, it's unique, though, because, you know, and do you know why it's unique? Because there's a pig here today in the studio.
What?
I don't know. I just see I'm trying too hard.
Sorry, I'm
right
not
now.
trying to know you.
No, you should have known that. That was a terrible bit.
What are you
terrible.
talking about?
Pig, what did you think of the bit? He always says the same damn thing. This is not a good addition to the show. Get out. Get out of here. I'm going to eat you.
No, stick to the grandma voice.
Oh, hello. Yes, I didn't love the pig. The pig, I didn't really get what that was going for. It just seemed kind of da-da. It wasn't really contributing for me, but I like the show. I like Sarah. You're also there.
There we go.
It's funny because I've been doing so many guest episodes and stuff that, you know, like we did a call-in show. And by the way, you can do the call-in show. Join us on Patreon, patreon.com/AITA pod. We did a call-in show yesterday with V, and she was like, oh my God, Sarah's here. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, I guess I'm just no one. That's fine. That's fine.
You got to make yourself scarce. It's like supply and demand, you know?
Then you get it.
People will just be more excited by your presence.
I know. You're very smart. You're very good at marketing and marketing yourself. And I mean, everyone loves you. In fact, we actually got possibly 2 positive reviews. Can you imagine that in 1 week?
What does possibly 2 mean? Was one like sort of middle of the road?
No, they're both 5-star reviews. Reviews.
Excellent.
So much fun. This is a great thought-provoking podcast. The chemistry between Danny and Sarah is fun. I love the way Danny owns his mistakes on opinions or actions, and he's not afraid to share his personal life. Sarah's smart and funny and sharp as a knife. Listen to it. Do it.
Oh,
wow.
Thank you,
Steven.
That's so sweet.
You'll love that. I thought that list was going to go on. It's like Danny owns his mistakes on opinions, on actions, on his course in life, on going to Arizona State when he really probably could have gone to a better school. I thought that list was going to go on, and it didn't, so I was relieved.
Oh, man.
Janawag, 5 stars. It's so much fun, and hosts are relatable. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. And thanks for reviewing. We really do appreciate the reviews, folks. It helps the show grow. And we are actually seeing kind of record numbers. It's really cool. So thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you join us on Patreon. We got our WhatsApp and etc. But anyway, I won't over promote it. You know where to find it. Sarah, what is the juice? What's new with you?
What is new with me? I start grad school in a few weeks. Still can't believe that's happening. Quite nervous.
Columbia life, killing it.
Oh, boy.
That's exciting.
Thank you.
Well, I'm very proud of you, and this does fulfill like weird ego needs I have to be associated with the upper crust of society. So you love to hear it.
You'll
love to hear it.
That is so funny.
Well, I finally got a car. I did get a hybrid, so very excited about that. Finally nailed the thing. I was so hostile to the car dealer that my dad actually was like, hey, I honestly don't think that was productive.
Ooh.
And I was like, that's fair. And I like started crying because I was still in a bad place when that happened.
Yeah.
But I was kind of a dickbag. I mean, look, it's just, here's the thing about buying a car. They fuck you at every turn, and it's frustrating. It's like, well, usually when you buy a product, they're like, oh, yeah, here's how much it costs. And you're like, okay, I have that much money, and then there's taxes, and that's fine. But a car is like, here's how much it costs. Then you get there, and they're like, ooh, no, you didn't think it cost what we said it cost, did you?
Yeah, right? No. Like, that is so annoying.
It's so annoying, and it's just a maddening process, and you got to buy like extras, like insurance, weird insurance things. Gap insurance. What is this insurance for? So that I don't I don't start shopping at the Gap. What the fuck is this?
Gap
so
insurance.
Anyone who bought a car recently will get that joke. But yeah, I've turned over a new leaf. I was definitely in a lot of pain post-breakup, but I think I'm starting to settle into LA. Obviously, having a car makes me mobile, and I've been in a good way. And it's been really nice. And I'm like,
glad to hear it.
Yeah, I like myself again. It's been cool. I've been hanging out with my friend Molly, who's an avid pod listener, and she actually thought OP, get ready for this, she thought OP stood for our person.
Ha ha ha!
And so
I mean, they are our
was,
person in a way. They're our person that we're discussing.
Well, I think it was problematic for her because there are sometimes that OP is a monster. So then it's like, are we saying this one's ours?
Yeah, we do not like stand by or support this monster person. That's really funny.
Right. We welcome Selena, our new patron. We're very excited to have you. And yeah, without further ado, should we guess some verdicts here?
Let's do it.
AITA for not getting a summer job and still expecting allowance.
Oh, this feels like the one that we talked about with the girl and the boy. That was vague. And the brother got into legal trouble, so the brother had to learn to work, and they paid for his trip. Okay, so anyway.
Oh, I like that one. You thought that one was, do we think that one was fake? I like that one.
No, I didn't say it's fake. It reminds me of that.
Oh, yeah.
I always said that was vague, because I was like, the girl and the boy.
Oh, vague.
AITA, what was it for not working and something?
AITA for not getting a summer job and still expecting allowance.
Maybe. I think a no assholes here.
You would think, but no.
Yeah.
So here's the story. OP is told to get a job by his parents. Instead, OP gets a pseudo job.
What?
He volunteers for the town's historical society.
Oh, that's nice and productive.
Yeah, I guess he's preserving historical materials because OP aspires to be an archivist.
Great.
Interestingly, I think my actual verdict would kind of hinge on if this really could be practical. I'm not really sure, but here's where things get juicy.
What do you mean, if one could become an archivist?
Well, I think his parents are being very dismissive toward him, but we'll get into that. So basically, OP is pissed because his parents have a bizarre rule where the kids have to pay a small fee to watch TV. But because OP is a volunteer, he's not allowed to watch TV. So he kind of has a meltdown as like, this is bullshit.
Because he's a
I can't watch
volunteer
TV.
and not earning money.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he kind of has a fallout with his parents, and he says it's a load of crap that he's not allowed to watch TV, and that his parents said you need to get an internship or a real job working at the historical
internships
society.
can also be
doesn't
unpaid.
teach.
That's BS.
Yeah, so Mariah writes, everyone sucks here. Get an actual job if you want things, but them not letting you use the TV is weird and controlling. But yeah, I mean, archivist does, I mean, ostensibly that is a career of some kind. So it does seem like the parents are being a little controlling.
Historical society. So yeah,
right?
that's like a real job.
It,
and I think that's great if he's a history major. Seems great to me.
Yeah, well, I think he's still in high school, but I think it kind of adds up that the parents are being controlling about the TV, and then they're being overly prescriptive about what counts for a job. And so I'm kind of like, I'm kind of ready to go, not the asshole, and the parents are. I mean,
agree.
God, volunteering, this is not the most criminal way to spend a summer. I drank Mickey's and ate Little Caesars pizza for like 6 summers straight.
Yeah, so. I feel like it's almost better to volunteer because you're not getting paid. Like, you're doing it for the love of the game. It's pure.
Seriously.
Damn, I would agree with you. I would say not the asshole and the parents are.
Totally.
All right, speaking of, AITA for telling my daughters that I made a mistake by choosing to stay in their lives.
Yikes-a-roni. I cannot see this going to NTA town. I mean, what would these daughters have to have done? I mean, could it be an ESH? I don't know. I'm going to go with my gut and just say YTA, fuck OP.
I mean, truly, that's what I would think too. But basically, and I don't even know if I agree with this Reddit post. It was up 9 hours ago. Maybe like all the YTA comments haven't sort of settled out. But like OP and his ex-wife got divorced 14 years ago when his daughters were 9 and 7, and the divorce was messy. Mom got primary custody. Mom is a monster who turned the kids against him. They would visit. They would just be angry each time. They would like have tantrums, scream, curse, etc., etc. As they grew up, it didn't get better. They would just come over to ask for money and then like scream and curse, basically. So now, finally, at the start of this year, they go over to OP's to ask for money. OP pretty much snaps and refuses. They start yelling at him and saying they wish that he wasn't their dad. And he was finally like, you know what? I wish I'd walked away from you and if I hadn't stayed in your lives, maybe I would have had an actual shot at a happy life and maybe you would have too. And then the daughters screamed and cried and cursed some more. And that's kind of it. The top comment was NTA, tragic but not the asshole. I wish you can find something that gives you happiness though.
Bullshit. No way. OP was painting a picture. I'm pressing charges against OP.
I mean, I think this can happen, but I just feel like then it's an ESH town because you're not ever right to say that.
Fine, but like, what did OP do? What did OP do? There was something here. What, the daughters are just evil? They're both evil to their father?
I mean, basically that's what we're
It's
getting.
bullshit. I'm smelling OP is a weak-willed little pissant, and I don't know what he did wrong, but he's not owning some shit he did back there.
Who knows?
I don't buy it.
Well, that's
But
them.
I didn't get a point.
That's the breaks, so that's all I can tell
Them's
you
the breaks.
for now.
AITA for wow, we got another. Wow, we got a lot of parental shit. AITA for reacting to my mom's engagement by calling her immature and selfish.
No, probably not. Let's see. I'm calling her immature and selfish. I'm just gonna go a straight NTA.
NTA is wrong.
Come on.
Wow, Sarah batting 0 today. So here's the deal. Mom confided in OP that dad cheated.
Oh,
He tells
that's not
his
a good
then
move. Okay.
yeah.
Sheesh.
He tells his then fiance because he believes that there's no partner. That if you tell something, you tell your partner. By the way, he opened saying his wife can be a bit vicious and his mom is passive aggressive. So everybody got a nice little
Wait, how
attacking
old are
label
they?
just to open us up.
How old is OP?
I don't believe that they specified.
Okay.
I read it as like 30.
Okay, yeah, old enough to have a wife.
Yep. There's no ages in the post, unfortunately. So anyway, what ends up happening is wife ends up betraying to mom that she knows that dad cheated, right? Because that was the secret.
Uh-huh.
And she does not betray it in a vicious way, though, which kind of gave me a point because she ends up saying something to mom like, well, that's why I went easy on you for a year.
Ooh.
So I was like, okay, well, that didn't seem like too loaded.
Right.
But mom was, so mom gets super pissed and goes low contact with OP, calling him, saying he's not an autonomous person because he, told his wife the secret. This leads to, a veritable trail of slights with things like her not giving OP her new address, eventually culminating in OP finding out she's engaged. Out of nowhere, and like other people already knew. He was very insulted, and mom says, well, you can find out along with all my Facebook friends, OP, which is her son.
Okay, I mean, that is pretty, what was it?
OP.
Immature and selfish?
Yeah, so then OP then calls her spiteful, selfish, and immature, and that it feels like a punishment.
Where's
And
the
it's so
lie?
ugly what OP said. I don't know. OP's fiance is there and even says OP is being an asshole.
I don't really see where the lie is.
For me, I think, look, I'll give you spiteful. I also don't think this is any way to talk to a person if you're going to have a relationship with them. Why are you going to sling all these adjectives at them? It's like just totally not productive. To me, this says toxic family written all over it, boundary problems
I
written
feel like,
all over
once
it.
you're retaliating against your own child, then there's clearly a bound or like a toxic family problem.
Yeah, and I think we can revisit this, but I have heard of like there is no, I don't know, intra or inter-spouse privilege. Like if you tell someone, you kind of got to expect they're going to tell their spouse.
Yeah.
It's just been something
I actually get annoyed when I tell my
think-
mom stuff and then she doesn't tell my dad and then I have to tell him again and then I have to tell him like 5 times because
That's
he's not
hilarious.
listening. But that's
And
besides the point.
Yeah, I was going to say your mom did tell your dad. He just forgot that
No,
shit.
no, but that would be funny. But he actually she won't tell him and then I'll just be like, Mom, I don't understand. Like if it was something
That's
that you couldn't tell
hilarious.
dad, number 1, I think you would know by the subject matter. But number 2, I would tell you not to tell him.
Well, the top comment didn't seem to see eye to eye with you or me. I mean, I see a lot of problems with mom's behavior here, at least indicators that something is awry here. But Anata Cocktail wrote, YTA, your wife is vicious. Your mom brought you into her circle of trust. And then not only did you tell your wife, but then she used it as ammo against your mom solely to hurt her. Why should your mom entrust you with any private info? It's only going to be used as ammo by your wife. Now I'm wondering if I read it wrong. Why did this person read it as ammo?
I know, now I'm confused. Well, send it to me or we can discuss it on a future ep because I just kind of feel like, I don't know, like telling your kids something that's going to turn them against the other parent is like a mark. And then also, I mean, truly not expecting, then first of all, you tell your kid something possibly earth shattering about their parent. Like, who are they going to turn to? Their spouse. Like, that's pretty normal.
That feels very normal.
It's like, if my mom told me that my dad cheated, first of all, I would need to vent to the whole world. But first of all, would be your significant other because that's some huge info.
Of course, or your significant triplets, I would think.
I don't know about that.
Oh boy.
Because then it's
All
just
right,
like,
well,
that's not my like information or like person to ruin necessarily. I don't know really.
Okay.
But
That's fair.
yeah. All right. We have,
Well, hey, erring on the side of keeping a secret is a good idea. I would suggest generally. So.
interesting. Okay. So now we have a one that could truly go in any direction. That was my strategy with this. AITA for having excellent dad reflexes.
I'm gonna say no assholes here.
And it looks like it's a shutout. Or, no, a no-hitter.
Wow, we zeroed.
No-hitter.
No-hitter. You hate to
This
hear
is honestly
it.
like a pretty stupid story, but whatever. The stakes are pretty low. OP's son is a toddler, and OP was playing with his cousin, who's a few years older and is like a bit of a roughhouser. So the kids were playing around in the backyard with water guns, which was all good until the nephew basically decides that he's going to start charging at OP's son. OP's dad just has like a dad ninja moment, drops his beer, grabs his son, like pulls him away so that the nephew doesn't like keeps charging, doesn't really react quickly enough, and basically goes into a brick planter face first. They all end up at the emergency room, and some people are mad that basically OP grabbed his son out of harm's way instead of grabbing the nephew from causing the harm. The top comment is, not the asshole. You protected your child. Was your nephew able to articulate his plan? If you hadn't grabbed your kid hits that planter with the full force of his cousin behind him.
Wow, interesting. I mean, are we really coming? How old was
I know,
this nephew?
and I mean, he was being a little asshole.
I
You can call kids
guess.
assholes.
Ugh, I was so close to winning.
So close.
All right, well, it's a no-hitter, folks. What are you going to do? We're going to talk briefly about this article that one of our patrons, Ellie, sent me. It's called Why Scholar Loretta Ross is Calling in Call-Out Culture. And I think this is something I started to dance around, a much more articulate version of what I was trying to articulate in the world of he who must not be named, our prior president, that we never say his name anymore. And I just really think that's very funny because it was all... It's so much better. It's so much better. It was all you could ever read about any given day. I would argue that coronavirus is less publicized than this individual who I will not name. But again, we find ourselves in a polarized America. This time it's people who don't believe in masks and vaccines, so it's quite a bit different. But I think some of this does frankly apply. So here's Loretta Ross, which is a scholar defining call-out culture. It's the tendency for people to want to publicly shame and humiliate people, attaching labels to people without really doing any kind of nuance, without understanding that even if you disagree with someone, you shouldn't want to attack their humanity, call them a toxic person or things like that. It's usually done most damagingly over the internet because social media amplifies and makes all callouts basically go viral immediately. And she's basically saying we should reform the culture, and her kind of example of how we could strive for this is she says if a black woman can learn to have civil conversations with someone who's been in the Ku Klux Klan, we should be able to have civil conversations with everybody. We can't simply dehumanize people because we disagree with their political perspectives. And I think this is a great insight here because I think you do run into a lot of vitriol, and it's just no way to talk to folks, especially if you really do want them to get vaccinated. I mean, we do want them to wear a mask and get vaccinated, and enough with the microchips. I mean, as Sarah's hilarious joke, which is there's a microchip shortage because they used them all in the vaccine.
Thank you.
Which is why I can't get a car at a good price. So she goes on. Instead of one person criticizing you, you end up with an angry mob who doesn't even know you that's criticizing you. I've seen careers and lifestyles blown up. No one wakes up wanting to be the target of an angry bullying mob for something that may have even been a mistake. It's maybe just a difference of opinion or a bad joke that didn't land right. We're too quick to judge people based on what we think we know about them without doing any kind of research or homework. So I think that's a really good explanation of why call-out culture is ultimately just not all that effective or good. It creates a lot of shame, and then you have these two polarized sides. So she proposes the call in.
I think it's not effective because shame is like scientifically proven to not be an effective motivating strategy. Because when you just like attack people, they're gonna be put on the defense. I will say, like, on the other hand, I feel like, I mean, obviously the example of like a black woman civilly conversing with clan members is super extreme. And it's just kind of funny that she talks about like humanizing people, but it's like, well, they're dehumanizing you first. So you'd have to really be a saint to not dehumanize a clan member, but sure.
Well, but she's saying if a black woman can do that, then can't we aspire higher? But you're right, it is a high bar.
Like,
it is
and
a high
I think
bar.
especially the problem with like these political things is a lot of it is rooted in humanity. Like, there are people who stormed the Capitol who wore T-shirts that says 6 million Jews wasn't enough. Like, that's already dehumanizing to me. So, like, yeah, I don't really give a shit about your humanity. But like, overall, I get the point when you're interacting with people that you actually know in real life,
right?
And who don't want you to die in a Holocaust. Sure, but yeah,
I agree. I agree. It's a very high bar. It's something to aspire to. And she goes on, and what we're aspiring to is a call in, and a call in is a call out done with love and respect. She says you're really seeking to hold people accountable for the potential harm that they cause, but you're not losing sight of the fact that you're talking to a human. And so you extend a hand of active love and active listening to help them maybe stop and think about what they said. And you can say, I beg your pardon, or when you said that didn't really land on me correctly. Can we talk about what's going on with you to make you do that? I mean, there's a whole bunch of things you could do other than you shouldn't say those things, or you're using the wrong word, you're trash folk, you're a racist. You could just ask people to pause and rethink their words, or maybe say, if somebody was here representing that community, would you say that to their face? And I really want to know what's going on with you that makes you want to say it. So I thought it was a good thing. I mean, I'm with you, Sarah, that it's very difficult, and these arguments also have a layer of being heated generally. But I thought it was a great way of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's interesting. I feel like when you're interacting with people, like the problem is I feel like call out culture is like a super broad term that applies to like a huge variety of instances. And when you're talking to your mom, like, yeah, I don't know, don't go like attacking her on Twitter and calling her like a trash person and then calling up her employer and telling her to fire her. Okay, fine, I get that. But like when you talk about celebrities, there is really no way for the public to call in celebrities, because what are you going to do? Send them a nicely worded DM? Like, they're not going to read it and they're not going to care. So I think it's definitely nuanced, but I am all for overall just trying to approach people with more understanding or just like almost genuine like curiosity. I feel like will get you farther. Like, I remember there was a good NPR or a good episode of This American Life that talks about like all about how you can actually change some voters' opinions. Actually, they went out to try to do this, and the best way to do that was really to get to know people and appeal to their humanity. And it wasn't like about any sort of logical points or citing this article that you read. It was just getting to know people. So, yeah.
Yeah, I had read about a black man who befriended KKK members, and he said that he really didn't do anything except listen and just let them talk. And eventually they naturally felt a rapport with him and a comfort with him, and then he didn't need to argue. He didn't need to be like, I'm a human, because they connected with him on a human level, and they were like, damn, it's pretty fucked up that I'm saying all this shit.
Honestly, good for him. Like, good for them. That takes so much. Oh boy, like that definitely takes a level of restraint that is very impressive. But yeah, I think overall I'm definitely here for at least attempting to approach people on a less like reactive level.
Right. Well, we all want to be more effective, in demonizing these people. And like you said, they dehumanize me, I'll dehumanize them right back. And I understand the impulse, but in the end, that's eye for an eye justice. And an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. Thank you, folks. I don't know where I got that.
Oh, man. A Danny Vega original.
A Danny Vega original, people. I made up all the cliches I use. You heard it here, folks. Our second story of the day. AITA for telling my daughter that if she won't stand up for herself, I don't want to hear about it. Yikes-a-roni. But first, it's AITA for bringing fast food to my friend's wedding. Couple weeks ago, my friend got married. Her husband's family is rich, so they had a huge and formal wedding, complete with a stunning 4-course meal. I don't know if I'm sold on stunning yet. 4 courses? I don't know. Hit me with an 8 course at least, but if it's I don't know, 4-course. That's pretty average. Anyway, she posted the food menu in advance, and I found out very quickly that I didn't like many of the meals. Ugh, OP, give me a break.
Yeah, seriously.
Her family loves seafood, so she had things like scallops, lobster tail, crab cakes, all seafood options. Okay, that is kind of crazy. Now, this might sound heavenly to some people, but I really dislike seafood, and the vegetarian alternatives didn't sound better, so I asked my friend if I could bring my own food. She said yes. At the dinner reception after the wedding, I ordered some burgers from a popular fast food chain to be delivered. Not going to say which, but there's only a few you can really guess. I'm going with McDonald's here. Anyhow, as I was eating my food, everyone just kept side-eyeing me. I know I probably look weird eating a fast food burger while everyone else ate scallops, but I also felt like I was being judged. My friend, the bride, also gave me that weird side-eye at some point. After the dinner portion was over and people started dancing, one of the bridesmaids told me that it would have been more proper to eat something that didn't draw so much attention. So I guess she was referring to the paper bag and drink I had since it did kind of stand out. Not a big deal, but I don't know. I guess the comment just got me thinking AITA here.
I'm sorry, the catering hall didn't have like Diet Coke. Listen, I know that ice hits different, but that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, it sounds like OP really did this in a shameless way and then is like, well, I was shameless. I can't believe people are shaming me. And it's like, well, yeah, you weren't discreet about the fact that you ordered McDonald's to the wedding, which is weird and is obviously going to draw attention.
I also think it's so tacky to get delivery at the wedding. Like, it's one thing to bring your own, like, little sandwich that you've packed in your bag or whatever's in your pocket if you're a dude. But
Sure.
Uber Eats just rolled up and they're like, do we have Danny here? What?
with a little loudspeaker.
Sure.
I'm looking for Danny. Yeah, I mean, I don't.
They came in the middle of the father-daughter dance.
Yeah. It's like the execution here is part of it. Like, don't draw. I mean, it's like, I don't know. This is just like a very classic, like, and I hate to do this, people, but come on, it fits. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. It's like, you know, like you were so non-discreet and then you got called out and it's like, well, yeah, of course.
Right. It's also like, okay, it's one thing if you're allergic to seafood and, you know, you want to bring your own small thing to your friend's wedding, but I mean, it's a wedding. It's not like a week camping trip. You know, you can find something that you could eat there probably. And if not, like, you're ordering multiple hamburgers from, like, let's say it's McDonald's. I mean, that's just, I feel like you said, it's just not discreet. Everybody can smell those fries. You didn't need to order a whole meal.
It's not discreet.
Like, you could, yeah.
They ordered a drink and put the bag on the table.
Yeah.
I mean, they were like soliciting attention. In fact, I'm even ready to go farther and say you don't even need to ask permission. If, like, just freaking sneak some food in, bring a sandwich in a bag, and then go over to the corner of the yard there or whatever, like go behind something and scarf your sandwich down. If you're such a little weirdo that you're not going to eat baked scallops, lobster tail, or crab cakes, I mean, come on, people. That's every kind of seafood you could ever dream of. Like,
yeah, or like there was nothing
at
cocktail hour. I agree.
And the vegetarian alternatives didn't sound much better, so you're going to be picky,
you can't do
and then
that
you're going to
with
make
someone's
a show.
wedding menu. It's like, even if it doesn't sound good, you just, like, eat the food, or eat before, eat after, bring a granola bar. Like, it's not a restaurant,
seriously.
you know? This is someone's wedding, and they're paying for you to eat it.
I would say, though, I've never been to a wedding that was all in seafood. That's a little strange.
I think, and I don't believe this is happening just because I do feel like seafood allergies are, like, decently common. Or people have
true.
Diet restrictions about seafood, like if anyone's kosher, or I don't know, it can be polarized and people just don't like it.
No, it's insane. It is a little insane, but I don't think it makes you the asshole. It's your wedding, and there's a vegetarian option.
Do what you want, but like someone being like, I don't like this. I like fast food burgers instead. I would be like, you know, grow up a little bit. It's one night.
It's one night. Looks like Reddit saw eye to eye with where we're landing. Kate the Villager, which I think that's a top 50 username. YTA, but gently. I feel like bringing your own food implies more of a packed lunch than a mixed delivery. It would have been better if you consulted the bride about the delivery first. I can see your perspective why a paper bag and delivery would draw attention away from her in an unwanted fashion. Fast food smells greasy.
You know that shit was crinkling. Like, you know that bag was making noise during the speeches and stuff. Come on.
That's cringe. Head up 31, YTA, leave the wedding for a few minutes if you need to eat like a child. Yeah, OP's like, I got a toy. I got a toy with my Happy Meals. Anybody want to see it? The grayest stone, YTA, but this is hilarious. You could have packed something subtle and asked to have it served on a plate. Now I'm just picturing you sitting there in some grand hall, rustling away and slurping on the last bit of drink.
Seriously, like, yeah.
Brutal. Looks like there's some dissent here. Stereo 9, asshole no assholes here. Trashy yes. She said yes, but what the hell? Did you really have to do that? I mean, it's this woman's wedding and you're up in there eating cold McDonald's like a hungover college student. I think my problem is that it wasn't cold.
Yeah, I agree.
If it was cold in her bag and discreet,
it wouldn't smell up the whole wedding hall.
Yeah, it said it was freaking, oh yeah, this guy agreed with you. RLK Griffith says, fill up on bread and butter and eat the sides. It's a 6-hour wedding, not the rest of your life.
I think OP is just being childish. There are just ways to get around not eating a meal that isn't your first choice for one event of your life.
And no discretion, but what do we say on this podcast? We say discretion is the better part of valor. You lack discretion, you lacked valor, and I think we agree wholeheartedly. AITA for bringing fast food to my friend's wedding. It's a big YTA. AITA for telling my daughter she won't stand up for herself. I don't want to hear about it. I divorced my wife almost 20 years ago because her work life was toxic to my mental health. I was developing extreme anger management issues. To keep it short, didn't matter who it was, she wouldn't stand up for herself at work. So day after day, she'd tell me these work stories, how upset she was. I'd give her suggestions, and nothing would change. Already don't like OP. Things escalated, and slowly but surely, I was building a resentment I didn't know was there and found myself angry anytime she would talk about work. She refused to get therapy or do anything to improve her situation. Okay, OP's bringing me back in. And our marriage slowly fell apart because of it. It wasn't until I decided to get therapy because I couldn't control my anger that I realized the relationship itself had become toxic. It took a longer after that, but we divorced. Fast forward to today. Nice. And my adult daughter is now working in the federal government, and she's letting the same thing happen to her. We talk on the phone every other day, and the past 3 phone calls, she's complained about the same situation. I've given her suggestions and nothing changed. Oh, guess what? I am now not on OP's side again.
And we're back.
We're back. I immediately recognized my anger building, so I just stopped her last night and told her that if she won't stand up for herself, I don't want to hear about it. She called me an asshole and hung up on me. This morning, my son called to ask me why my sister is telling everyone I'm an asshole to hear my side, so I told him the abridged version, and he told me I'm the asshole as well. Oh, boy. Let's go to Reddit and see if Reddit disagrees. I know I may have been tactless in how I shut down the convo, but I just can't invite that anger into my life again. Maybe it makes me weak, but I'm just not able to cope. AITA.
Oof. I feel this is a classic male problem, which is
interesting. Oh yeah, I think I know where you're going.
You don't need to fix the problem when someone's like complaining about it. You just need to listen and let them vent.
Yep. I mean, I have to say, we had this down pat in prior relationships of mine. We would be like, is this event? We would say it's event. And then, then it's just a time to feel heard. And there's no going to be advice giving or solving. And I think that's a great way. Like, can I vent? And you got to set that person up for success so they know. But yeah, they do say men are compulsive problem solvers. Well, then why is my life filled with problems? So that doesn't add up now, does it?
Riddle me that.
Riddle me that.
No, it's true. There's like a good Parks and Rec episode about it where Anne is pregnant and she's just like bitching about everything to Chris because she's like, my nipples hurt and this. And he goes, I brought you nipple cream. And she's like, no. And they're like, Chris, just look at her and say, that sucks. And that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
On the other hand, though, it's not that OP is 100% wrong. I think where he started to lose me is like, well, the pattern here of your wife having this happen and then your daughter, that does start to make me think it's about him. Because it's like, well, why is this happening to you again? Isn't it interesting this keeps happening to you?
Well, I guess, okay, 2 things. Because number 1 is I understand his side of like, it is extremely frustrating to watch someone go through the same issues and also not do anything to fix it. And so I feel like we both kind of we're like, all right, I feel you on this for sure. I mean, I think the reason that this is happening is that he has close relationships with people. This is your wife and your daughter, you know? It's like, that's not avoidable. I also feel like I mean, for me at least, especially when it comes to work problems, I think fixing it is like a lot of it can be easier said than done. I feel like there's just a lot of like corporate bullshit. What if your problem is a person and no one's getting rid of that person? It's hard to find jobs. That's it. You know?
Of course. And that also, it might just be the nature of the work or whatever. You never know. I think with wife, I was more on board because, you know, she refused to get therapy. And I have to say, you know, there's a great quote floating around, which is like, you know, your partner isn't your therapist. So like, yes, venting is a normal part of an adult relationship. But if you're having the majority of your interactions be vents and complaints and negativity, then yeah, your partner has every right to be like, hey, you actually are making my life worse. Like you are stressing me out. You are draining me. And you need to process this pain elsewhere because I can't be here to absorb all this. I think that's an extremely fair request. So I'm kind of with him at that point. I guess I am a little weird about why it triggers anger. That doesn't add up to me. I'm like, why are you getting so angry? It seems like there's a lot of...
For lack of a better word, I feel like he's triggered. Like it's bringing him back to this place where he was unhappy in his marriage, you know?
Well, but he also describes getting angry at the wife. And I'm like, it's very odd that this is manifesting as anger. So
I don't know. Have you ever had frustration turn into anger? That happens to me a lot.
Yeah, but to me, that seems like there's another layer to this, which is maybe that he's not being assertive and he's just sitting there and letting himself be vented upon instead of being like, hey, boundary check, you're venting for the 3rd time today or whatever, the 10th time this week. You're draining me. I can't do this. So he's not asserting himself. So then the resentment
and took it for like years or whatever.
Exactly.
That's fair.
Yeah, so I do understand, and I don't think it's invalid, and you do have a right to not be vented on too much. There's definitely a limit. By the way, Sarah, thanks for enduring all the vents during the breakup era.
You got it.
Woo-wee! She did it, folks. Bill me. So, yeah, but then we get to the daughter, then we're in a whole new dynamic. I would say the restrictions on your children venting on you are a whole hell of a lot lower. You got to be there for your kids. Yeah. That's your job as Papa Bear. You know.
Also, I will say, like, I feel like from the daughter's perspective, I mean, I don't know. I vent to my parents about work, but like, if they gave me advice, I mean, I truly love them, but I feel like it would be in one ear out the other because they just don't understand the industry. My dad he still can't describe what I do for a living, even though we've had this conversation so many times, and I've been doing the same job for 6 years.
She's a bitch.
Yeah.
She's a bitch.
I guess I just feel like if I were to complain to my dad and he gave me advice and I didn't take it because he didn't like understand the nuance of the situation, and then he were to get mad at me, like I would also be very mad at that response. Or like I would be annoyed.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a different layer when you're talking about like intergenerational, like different industries and blah, blah, blah.
Totally. Which just goes back to what I'm saying, which is like recognize that it's events and you don't need to know any information. You can just be like, I'm sorry, that sounds really hard. That's so frustrating when people do that. You know, this was 3 times. It was 3 calls. And then he really like lays down this harsh.
Hold on.
Yeah. And here's where I really start to. This is what I think I'm on about this anger shit, Sarah. What he told his daughter was not, hey, I actually can't handle this right now. Like, I'm not emotionally in a place to, like, handle these vents. What he actually said was, if you won't stand up for yourself, I don't want to hear about it. And so I think this is what I'm on about. To me, that reads like ego. That's saying, if you're not going to do what I tell you what to do, which is the right thing to do, then I'm angry. So that to me reads as control. So I think OP feels out of control. He doesn't know how to set proper boundaries potentially, or maybe he's just a little control freak. He wants everyone to take his stupid advice. So... I think we're pretty aligned on this.
I could see that read. Like, sure, why not? Especially if both your kids are calling you an asshole about the same issue.
Yeah, no, I mean, OP has no grounds with the daughter. IK Smash does this beautifully. He poses, do you want a solution or support as a short, simple question to ask before they vent. People rant about stupid stuff to blow off steam. That's right. That's what the vent's for. That's the steam comes out. Doesn't mean they're weak or bad at their jobs. They're just redirecting frustration they can't at work. If you can listen without offering solutions, then tell them that, and then they can decide if they still want to tell you what's bothering them.
All right.
Wow. Capricious Helen dropping and no assholes here. I had an ex who did this. Always wanting to vent about things in his life without ever actually doing anything to fix. When we first met, I was sympathetic, but after 3 years of listening to the same complaints on a loop, I wanted to scream. People underestimate how maddening it is to listen to someone complain about the same things over and over. It's unfortunate your daughter ended up inadvertently bringing up this issue when she had only complained a few times. She wasn't being an asshole and wanting to vent to you, but I get why you had such a visceral reaction after your past experiences.
I guess I'm kind of like, I get that 100%. I mean, I have friends who do this, and I want to shoot myself in the face. But also at the same time, like, okay, if one friend complains to me about some guy who is acting like a complete dick to her, and it 3 times, and I can't take it because I listened to friend B complain about the same type of guy, it's on me to be able to have the perspective to say, well, she's actually only complained about this to me 3 times. Like, that is not actually a lot of times, you know?
Yeah, well, and I think a safe way to do this, and is exactly what OP didn't do, is just frame it in terms of yourself. Don't tell them what to do. Don't tell them they need to take your advice. Just say, like, hey, I'm sorry. You know, I'm just not in a place where I can really be a good listener here. I don't want to talk about this. And that's fair. Like, I'm sorry I can't be here for you right now, but that's just where I'm at. And when you put it that way, that's a boundary. It's a fair boundary to set. If that's where you're at, that's where you're at. You know, as a father, I think you got to try a little harder, but yeah.
Was this in our group chat where we were having this conversation about how do therapists, or was this on Twitter, about how do therapists deal with their patients not taking their advice? Because, like, let's be real, they probably don't. If you did, you wouldn't, like, you'd be out of therapy, I guess. And then they were like, you just have to tell yourself that you're doing all that you can. Was that in the group chat, in the WhatsApp?
No. Well, we covered this in the therapy episode with Lindsay, and she makes a great point, which is, first of all, it's a big component of therapy to not give advice. Right. You know, and she said that any therapist who kind of does that is putting their ego into it and putting themselves into it, and that's just not a good move.
Yeah, fair.
That's no way to do it. Well, I think we see eye to eye here, and I'll bring back a classic phrase, don't step on event, which is what you're doing when you're offering advice during event sesh. And I really like the quote we got there. Do you want support or solutions? I love that. AITA for telling my daughter she won't stand up for herself. I don't want to hear about it. I think we're at a resounding YTA.
Oh, yes.
All right, folks, please join us on Patreon, patreon.com/AITA pod. I'm posting situations in the cappuccino. It's kind of a running voice memo / personal podcast app. It's really fun. We've got the WhatsApp. We've got the happy hours. That's right, folks. We're even doing a Australia compatible happy hour, which if you join the Patreon, you can come. It's like on a Friday night, which is an Australian morning, and time zones hurt my head. But we're doing lots of stuff. It's a really fun group. And we'd love to have you in there. We also, of course, really appreciate you supporting the pod. We put a lot of time and love into it. All right, we're going to wrap up here. AITA for not wanting my boyfriend to hang out with one of his best friends. My boyfriend's best friend, has always given me bad vibes. Before he even met me in person, he started calling me toxic for calling my boyfriend while they were hanging out. I still tried to give him a chance, and he didn't even bother to introduce himself or try to speak to me. I just ignored it until I started to notice a pattern of bad behavior and lying for my boyfriend when they were together. My boyfriend saying disrespectful things, completely out of character, coming home drunk, not coming home at all. One day, they decided to go to a gun range to shoot some of his best friend's guns. While they were there, my boyfriend calls me to tell me he's buying a gun, something we had previously spoken about and something he said he had no interest in anytime soon. We also discussed wanting to go and buy something together since I wanted to buy one once we moved in together for personal protection.
So did you agree to buy a gun or did you not? Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. I reminded him of this and told him that he needed to do more research before just buying a gun on a whim.
This is America.
Okay, I see. So they wanted to... Yeah, right.
This is what our country was founded on.
He agreed with me. Spontaneous gun purchasing.
Literally.
A couple weeks pass, and while we're looking in his room for something, I find a box of bullets. I confronted him, asking him why he had them if he didn't buy the gun. He said it was because ammo was just going to get more expensive, so his friend gave him some. I asked if he bought the gun behind my back. He said no. Another few weeks go by, and he hangs out with said friend again, saying he was going to have a few beers, that he'd be back later. 6 hours pass, nowhere to be found. Irritated, I call him, asking where he is. He's drunk out of his mind and starts yelling at me, talking to my grandfather who had recently passed, saying stuff he would normally never say to me. I was upset. I told him I was done and started to pack my bags. It was then when I heard his friend in the background feeding him what to say. After I called them both out, his friend basically kicks him out of his apartment with 1% battery left, saying he didn't want the drama. Concerned, I go pick him up regardless of the fact that I'm really hurt, but I still want to get him home safe. He was so drunk, I had to get his brother's help to get him in the house, and he eventually ended up knocking himself completely unconscious.
Whew. Drama llama.
Worried at this point. This is insane. Yep. At this point, I call his friend, asking him if I needed to call 911 and trying to gauge how much alcohol he drank to make sure he wakes up tomorrow. His friend basically made fun of me for being concerned, started to take screenshots of the text I sent explaining the situation before I called him to use this to roast my BF in front of the entire friend group in the future, and then lied the next morning saying I screamed at him. Jesus.
Oh my God.
My boyfriend woke up fine. This is epic. And it was a long night of babysitting my drunk boyfriend. Less than a week later, out of guilt, I guess, my boyfriend decides to fess up to the fact that he and his friend went and bought the gun behind my back.
Of course.
Of course. I was livid because this was a lie the two of them had kept up for months. I texted his friend asking why he would let him make an irresponsible purchase like this as opposed to a responsible gun owner he labels himself, and knowing it was behind my back. He told me, get the fuck out of my phone, B-word. And that's when I told my boyfriend before they hung out again, he would need to apologize to me. What happened to breaking up, OP? I thought you were out of this bullshit. Ugh. That never happened, and my boyfriend ended up lying to me, saying he was hanging out with other friends while he was with this friend. His friend tried to apologize, and then later that night I saw messages on my boyfriend's phone of him continuing to talk poorly about me, and telling him to again lie to me about where and who they were with. At this point, I was done with the apologies and told him I never even wanted to hear his friend's name again. Sheesh. He understood and everything was fine up until I took a trip for work and found out my boyfriend was again hanging with him behind my back after he specifically said he wouldn't. I got tired of his friend being a constant issue and starting arguments. Then I finally told him he would have to pick between him and I. My boyfriend, of course, said he would always pick me and that he was sorry, but when I got home, there were obviously deleted text messages between him and the guy. My BF will... This is such a nightmare. My BF will ask me to see who's texted him, and that's how I saw. It's been a few weeks, and my BF has again started bringing up, saying that his friend helped to shape his personality.
Oh,
yeah, right?
Yeah, for the worst.
And he's a big part of his life. I still don't want him hanging out with him because I find him to be extremely rude, disrespectful, and overall bad influence. Am I in the wrong?
I mean, listen, I feel like we're so far past that. I hate to be the Reddit person of like break up, but break up. This guy's toxic. His friend is toxic. You are the company you keep. I honestly do believe that.
It's so true.
And he's never going to put you first. Like, he's never going to choose you. He's so easily enabled by this terrible friend. I mean, he's lying to you. He's doing all sorts of bad stuff. Also, I think OP is like, I just think OP is going too far trying to text a friend, be like, oh, I can't believe you guys went behind my back. Like, the friend doesn't give a fuck about you. The friend actually disdains you. So you're doing too much by going around to try to text the friend to get him to give a shit. You know?
Yeah, and there's this whole, like, lying aspect and, like, kind of slandering you to the group chat. I mean, OP, you were going to leave. You were packing your bags, and then for some reason your drunk boyfriend sucked you back in.
He almost
even though that should have been
concussion. Fucking
yeah, and I don't understand. I mean, I do understand why that sucked you in, because then you were kind of in a rescuer position.
I feel like I understand why it sucked you in for the night, but, like, get out of there. I mean, I just feel like it's easy to blame the friend, but this is who he is. He doesn't stand up for you in private. Like, this is your boyfriend.
Yeah, this guy sucks. And then saying the friend built his personality, it's like he's spelling it out for you. He's like, yeah, I'm toxic because I hang out with a toxic person and I want to keep hanging out with them. Yeah. OP, you're better than this. You packed your bags, pack them up again, and yeah, we're going with the Reddit, the bland, cliched chorus of break up with him.
Yeah, sorry.
This guy is not good. I got nothing good to say. And I really don't like alcohol, so I'm extra biased. But just like guns and booze, come on, name a worse duo.
Guns, booze, and lying. Terrible trio. It's like, what else? I mean, I feel like next up is a friend is gonna try to convince